Okay, good to go.
This is the planning board regular meeting, July 10. We'll begin with a roll call. Margaret?
Margaret Turner, alternate.
Alan Burko, alternate. Mike Propel, member.
Nancy Red, alternate.
Bill Spence, member.
Morgan Bean, member. Ryan, member.
Rich Smith, member. John, member. And Rich Rita, select board as official. There are 7 members present. I do not need-
Rob Wilson, alternate.
Hello, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Yes,
Hey.
happy year. Matter of fact, we wish Rob the best. I'll mention now that on Sunday, Rob had emergency surgery at Dartmouth Hitchcock on sepsis, arthritis, infection, and both of his artificial knees. Rob is a veteran, a Marine. We wish you the best and wish you very quick recovery.
Thank you, Bill. Good to go.
Miss you.
Thank you to all the volunteers for coming today. The minutes. Do we have any minutes to review? I think we do. Are online minutes. No, too much paper, yeah. Okay, here we go. We're starting with June 12th.
We take a peek at line, on June 12th, line, I think it's 41, 40 to 41. So the project includes an adventure center building and aerial course. I think it was 2 aerial courses. There was. You know,
Okay,
I brought up, that's how I remembered it, but if not, then that's not.
No, I think it's 1.
No.
No, it's 2.
There's one for the kids.
okay.
As you can see on line 91, I made 1 suggestion. Any other comments or suggestions? Motion, please.
I move that we accept the minutes of June 12th as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Passed. Minutes of June 19. That was the special meeting. Any comments or suggestions? I saw nothing that needed to be amended. Is there a motion
I move we accept the meeting minutes. As drafted.
as presented? Okay,
A second.
all in favor? Aye. Accepted. We have a busy agenda this morning, and what's first on the agenda is the review of the public hearing. We could do, but are there any comments from the floor?
I would say not related to.
The agenda is the review of the. Yes. We're talking about, no. It's going to be difficult enough to have this meeting. The participation from
Zoom.
outside, from Zoom, is going to be more difficult. So I would say I'm interested in proceeding with this agenda. I'm asking for privilege of the floor, principally from people who are here. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a comment?
Regarding what?
The agenda, which is the review of the public hearing. And in general, what we're here to discuss is the Adventure Center plan.
I
So,
then have
go
to-
ahead. I don't know your name, but I'm gonna ask you to proceed.
Do I go to the microphone?
Yes, and tell us who you are, where you live, and
My name is John Panicella, 10 Chippewa Way.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You can just scooch it a little, you're fine.
so whoever's gonna speak to from before, I would ask you to be brief.
That will be my class. And 3.3. Good morning. First point, was precedent. You know, I've been to a few meetings in the past and there was, a consistent application.
I mean, everyone can hear. There's 4 speakers on this Zoom. Yeah, you're okay. You're good.
Precedent. I don't know if that changed. Regarding application for, I believe it was a religious facility, I don't know the circumstances fully, so I'm not pretending to. But after public input, the project was shut down and asked to be put somewhere else. Second comment I had, I visited, and it's a rebuttal to the, I guess, the quality and level of maintenance of the existing infrastructure that the principals currently have. And I have to say that, you know, a few months back, I went into a particular building, conference center, Snowstar. I was taken aback by the quality of maintenance. So I took a run there today at 6:30 this morning to make sure it was exactly at its recall. So I walked into Snowstar and immediately I'm met by something that's not really warm and fuzzy. Missing flooring, spackling, not painted, defunct fireplace, kitchen that's dirty, overflowing with garbage. In fact, on the microwave was a bowl with what appeared to be spare ribs. This is where we house our employees. And J1. I'd be reticent to say I'd even want to walk home there and live there. Regarding 4-ways, someone in the 90s thought it was beneficial to put a box on the front and cover it up. But I can still see the emblem from 4-ways. These facilities need to be updated, and I think resources, financial resources would be better put towards maintaining what we currently have, elevating it to a level that I consider, and its key word today is world class. When it's world class, people will be drawn to it, which I've repeated in the past. Third point, I'm gonna end on talking about HOTS. For the university where I attend, they had improved HOTS, part of the solution. We've already made comments about where we could potentially put this adventure park, maybe at the mountain, maybe at Snows Mountain, or a variation of it. I don't think it's befitting that the crown jewel, and I retired here 3.5 years ago, and I love coming back from Long Island, you know, I'm with John Thorne, because it's an absolute serenity and solitude. And the crown jewel of that pond is the backdrop of a beautiful town square and the mountains. People stop and take photos, and it's very nice. The last thing I want, and I'm gonna say it again, is something that I see on Norwegian Cruise Line top shelf ship or a Coney Island multicolored behemoth, that when people drive in, the first thing they're gonna see against that backdrop is an ill-placed thing. My daughter and her fiance recently are architects. Very big architects in the Manhattan firm that put up international airports, government buildings. My daughter has a pension. I'm not promoting them, and I don't think they are good, but she enjoys green and environmental architecture. And when I have a conversation with her, I'm like, honey, what's the best type of environmental architecture? It's one that blends with the surroundings, wood and glass. You can see through it, transparent, it's as if it's not there. We want something on that pond that is absolutely elegant and timeless, because that's world class. So I started telling myself, what would bring people into the valley? I've been to the Flying Monkey. They have tribute bands, Beatles, comedians, all these fun bands. Last year, we went to the Bank of New Hampshire's Pavilion in it's an hour away. So a country music star, beautiful open air venue, grass, you'll have a great time. Obviously not that big,
He's gonna leave that there.
but about 250 people, something in a beautiful setting that could be enjoyed either during the summer months or enclosed with glass to enjoy full year round.
Would you wrap it up? Paul?
I absolutely will. My feeling is that, you know, we have the opportunity here to think on a much higher level. I'm not saying the adventure park is inappropriate. I think there are better places for it. But when I want to bring people in, I want them to think, geez, come to a venue that's beautiful, in a beautiful surrounding, spend a little bit of money, maybe make tickets $20. I'll use the restaurants, honey, let's go to dinner and the show, Beatles tribute. Or on weekends when we have Rally in the Valley, Chili Fest, Chocolate Fest, wherever, maybe stay the whole weekend coming from Tilton, Littleton, to draw people into the valley to utilize the services that we currently are underutilizing. Hotels, restaurants. I think that's a better use of that.
I asked you to wrap it up, but
Thank you.
you're not doing it. Okay. We had a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing was to hear comments from the public. And, yes, there's privilege from the floor, but I don't want to try to do that again today. Are there any other comments from the floor? Good, then we can proceed. What did we learn from the public hearing? The overwhelming sentiment from the audience is, and we don't want to look like Loon. The planning board's function is to uphold the ordinances, yes. And the criteria for the planning board's deliberation and ultimate decision on whether to approve the project is the zoning ordinances and associate regulations. And there are no other documents or criteria to be used in the appraisal and of this application. The answer is that unless there is a violation of an ordinance or regulation, the planning board's options are recommendations and requests to the developer. The other question that came up significantly or very often is, why are we doing this? The several residents asked for explanation regarding the business reasoning and the strategy that led Tyrell to propose the adventure zone. And the answer is that it is the developer's business plans, and they are not the planning board's or the town's business. The planning board has no authority to ask for this information. The adventure zone is a private enterprise project on private property owned by Tyrell, which is zoned commercial. Zoned commercial means that the town is allowing the owner to develop it commercially. There was at least one resident that thought that Tyrell was proposing to build its adventure zone on town land. Not town land, it's Tyrell land. The planning board may influence the project outcome by setting conditions which align with the current ordinances, regulations, and state laws. But it's the developer that determines the nature and the characteristics of his application. The adventure zone threatens the natural beauty of Waterville Valley. That was a characteristic tone and statement from many of those who came to the microphone. The planning board cannot tell the owner of commercial land that he cannot build a commercial project on his site. The planning board can influence the developer to take natural beauty and several other such characteristics into consideration, into account. And we understand that it's important to residents. I'll also point out that on the first page of the zoning ordinance in the preamble is statement line 4 that says that one of the purposes of the zoning ordinances is the preservation of the natural beauty of the town and the valley. It's right there. So if the planning board's responsibility is to uphold the ordinances, I'd say that we could take a stand on this particular issue. There's a great deal more that we're going to have to talk about before we come and resolve this completely. And then there was a question about the sidewalks. The ordinance says, and the ADA, that is the American Disability Act, refers to the minimum of 3 feet and its recommendation of 5 feet width for sidewalks. The plan shows a 10-foot wide walkway. I'll refer to sheet 6 on the lighting plan as presented. It shows the 10-foot setback. The sidewalks are the same scale width. And therefore they appear to be well within compliance with the ADA. I don't think then that we're gonna spend that much more time. Yes, ma'am.
Are we looking at commercial figures or like personal figures? It's 5 feet since 25 house, but commercial place, like, is more than whatever. It seems 5 feet.
5 feet seems, your point is that it's too low.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering whether those are for people's homes as opposed to.
I don't know, just making reference to what's in the ADA. But I can tell you that on the scale drawings, it's 10 feet.
Yeah.
That's double that recommendation, so I'm gonna put this aside to say that I think it's well within reasonableness. Then there was the business of handicap parking. The handicap parking cannot be more than 1,000 feet from the attraction. And from what we were able to determine, they appear to be about 550 feet, which is within compliance. I'm looking at James. You have a comment to make?
No.
No, okay. It appeared to me that the complaint about handicap parking, that is, we didn't have to delve into that with any more detail because the handicap parking that is on the drawings is 550 feet. What we could ascertain, that's where it is.
But also as it relates to your total parking requirement.
That's another matter. That's another matter. I'm trying to address what we heard at the public hearing. And we heard comments, and we did another one today. How well will Tyrell maintain the structure? And one comment that I can make, and that is that the New Hampshire Tramway Board will insist on the maintenance of the items which have been suggested in the plan. If not compliant, the Tramway Board would shut it down. And so I think that you can depend on it being well maintained. First thing then that I would discuss and say, we need to update the site plan. We need much more detail about the new aerial product. We don't know its plan or elevated views. We've seen the sketches on the screen. We know basically what it looks like. We haven't seen its exact position on the plan site. And we don't know what the elevation looks like with respect to the rest of the site. And there was also a request from the public hearing of the footprint of the new aerial product. That is, how is it oriented? And someone else made a comment about how is the building, the adventure building, oriented with respect to everything else that's on the site. Get the vacuous look. Do you remember that comment? Was it this way?
Not a
that
vacuous
way?
look. I'm listening to your list of things you'd like to see.
That's what I
updates on.
heard. Now, are there any other comments that people, that the board members wish to make about what they heard at the public hearing?
Somebody brought up a warning sign.
I'll get to that. Yes, that's a very valid item. So, our board conclusion is that, we need a good deal more information about the traffic and the impact that, drawing more people to the town will be. What is the impact on parking and what is the impact on traffic? So we're going to ask you for a study that is, we need a good deal more information to satisfy the requests that have been made. Yes. Would you like a non-public,
Non-meeting.
non-meeting? Yeah, we could do that, no problem. Okay. Well,
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
propose that we adjourn to a non-meeting for discussion with council at this point. Need a second?
I'll start with that. Good. Any comments? All in favor of adjourning to a non-meeting?
Aye.
Passed. Then I will ask,
Yes.
Everyone.
We have also.
a non-meeting simply means that we're gonna ask everybody in the gallery to step outside, luckily it's not raining.
Why are you doing this? Why don't you have, if you asked for a public hearing, why don't we do a public hearing?
We did a
We
public
did a
hearing.
public hearing.
This is not a public hearing.
I'm saying that it's not a public hearing.
Why isn't it?
Because we have
That was on
our-
Tuesday night.
What, I mean, if you're gonna talk about
We're
this,
gonna talk with council.
Right,
We need a couple of minutes
at any
to do
time,
it.
the board can, at any time, a board can go and stop. council.
I don't think it's.
All right.
All right,
It's
okay.
like
Sure.
Mark, you got a minute?
We're gonna have to shut the Zoom off.
Okay.
Would you like to put a time limit on the non-meeting, like everybody sign off and 10 minutes later sign back on, or?
Because they're not part of
They'll
the,
have to make
not
sure.
part of the non-meeting.
Yeah, you can drop people who are not members of. Oh, I see what you're saying, but I think we want to keep Liz on, and I think
Put in waiting
Rob is
room?
on. I think,
Yeah, the waiting room would work as well.
just keep Rob and Liz.
These are the motions that we're certain.
Hang on. Put in,
Well, I want
did I
you to
forget
read it.
someone?
We got something and one more.
Put in waiting room
So,
and then stop
Keep-
recording.
yes.
The list of items that we wanted.
Are you sure you want to stop recording? Yes. And then let me go to live stream.